with some information so that everybody's on the same page and people will kind of get the background to love bombing. So just get ready for that. If you need to take notes, feel free to take those notes. But just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with the information that we will share tonight. All right, here we go. So we're talking about love bombing tonight, love bombing, and hope this is as clear as possible. So here we go. Start first, we're going to start off with just biblical insights, biblical insights. And so the first thing is this. It says that love must be sincere. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil and cling to what is good. That's from Romans 12:9. Scripture encourages us to seek authentic love, love that is genuine and rooted in goodness. It's not about the grand gestures, but the sincerity behind them. All right. Also, guard your heart, and we can find that in Proverbs 4:23. Guard your heart. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Say that one more time. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And we say, guard your heart. We always talk about this. When it comes to your heart, do you have a fence or have you built walls? In terms of your heart, do you have a fence or have you built walls? Fences are good because you can always have an entrance and you let the good in and keep the bad out. But walls can be really detrimental a lot of times because we're so closed up or we're so shut that it's a good thing that we can keep the bad out, but a lot of times we even keep the good from coming in as well because a wall is simply shuts out everything that's coming in its direction. All right, so as we just continue on, guard your heart above all else. And so it says, amidst the dazzling displays of affection, take a moment to assess the motives behind the gestures. A guarded heart can at times discern between genuine love, right? And then also a love bombing illusion, a love bombing illusion. As we continue on, the term love bombing refers to a pattern of overly affectionate behavior that typically occurs at the beginning of a relationship, often a romantic one, in which one party bombs the other with over the top displays of adoration and attention. This behavior can include showering the other person with gifts and or compliments, declaring love early on. You ever seen those people? They just met you. Oh, you're my soulmate. You're the one for me. I've never met anybody like you. Okay? If you heard that before, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You get it. Okay? And also, and or taking steps to remain in constant contact and spend increasing amounts of time together. Love bombing is considered a deliberate and manipulative tactic that is deployed in order to gain the upper hand over a new partner and increase his or her dependence on the bomber. My gosh, my gosh, my gosh, my gosh. Because of this, it is often attributed to individuals who are high in narcissism or other antisocial traits, or those who engage in domestic violence. I do just want to make it very clear just because someone love bombs you does not mean that they're a narcissist. It doesn't mean that they have some antisocial traits. Sometimes there are good meaning people that are still really good at love bombing. Okay. So please don't walk around and say, well, Pastor Devonte said that anybody that love bombs is a narcissist. No, don't say that. Don't say that because that's not what I'm saying. They could potentially be, but also keep in mind there are good-hearted people that it's possibly a bad pattern um, that they have, been practicing and need to be made aware of it. Okay. All right. As we continue on, love bombing occurs when someone expresses excessive praise and affection at a rate that is disproportionate to the current stage of a relationship in an attempt to manipulate the person they're dating into committing to them quickly. First day, they're saying, "Oh my gosh, I think we're going to be together forever. Nothing will break our love." Things like that. Love bombing. Love bombing can initially feel like being put into an exciting fairy tale, particularly in a dating era where many people struggle with connecting emotionally or being vulnerable. Someone who is love bombing you may feel like a breath of fresh air. So if it feels like you're connecting with someone you like and they're looking for commitment, why not enjoy it? The issue with love bombing is that it puts you in a position to overlook red flags and to focus on a relationship at the expense of no one else except yourself. And so let's look at the signs and the stages of love bombing. The signs and stages of love bombing. My gosh, okay? Signs and stages of love bombing. We got to check the chat. I'm going to check the chat after. So, common signs that someone is love bombing another person. Let's look at some of the examples right now. Number one, we spoke about this. They might give you numerous or extravagant gifts, particularly early in the relationship. Number two, excessive or exaggerated flattery. Someone that love bombs. Number three, early, frequent, and or extreme declarations of love and affection. For example, saying I love you or you're my soulmate. Somebody may have heard that before, right? Or you're everything I'm looking for. Everything? And this person might say this on a first date. Number four, attempts to be in constant contact. For example, bombarding bombarding the other person with nonstop texts or phone calls. Let's look at some more examples. Number five, a love bomber might seek quick commitment from you in a romantic relationship. For example, brings up things like marriage or moving in together right away. Okay. You might have known a person, you only know them for a month, and they're already talking about marriage, or know them for a week. Number six, displays emotional neediness and reactivity. May become upset if the other person has other plans and doesn't answer communication right away. And last one, ignores attempts by the other person to set boundaries. When someone love bombs you, they only want to see what they want you to see. It is usually a carefully curated facade, which does not give you an accurate view of what a relationship with this person will actually look like. In this case, the old adage, if it feels too good to be true, it probably is. Think of love bombing like the highlight reel on Instagram, where only a person's best moments are showcased, but none of their vulnerabilities, their fears, or flaws are revealed. And so the question now, starting our service for today, have you ever been love bombed? And another question connected with that is, were you guilty of love bombing someone else? So once again, have you ever been love bombed? And were you guilty of love bombing someone else? All right, we'll put that question in the chat for you, but I'll say that one more time. Based on the description that I gave, definition, signs, have you ever been love bombed? And were you guilty of love bombing someone else? We'll take about maybe 40, 50 seconds. Think about that question, and then we'll go one by one. Oh, so PJ says, I've gotten you're everything I've wanted before. Can you describe that experience, PJ? It gave me the ick. Oh man, I need to hear about this experience. If you don't mind sharing, right?
Oh man. Happy Sabbath, everybody. Happy Friday. I don't know if there's much to say on the matter.
uh,
I kind of knew the person previously, like we went to the same middle school, but I met them later on in life when I was in college. And we were just like having a friendly discussion, a car conversation. And I guess because the conversation was going so well that he was just like, wow, you're everything I've needed. I'm just like, whoa, sir. What does that even mean?
so how did you? So is that what you said out loud? I want to hear what was the PJ response
Well,
in this.
see, I don't like confrontation. So in the moment, I was just like, ah, ha, ha, ha. But because I didn't want to make him feel bad, because obviously, if you're saying that to begin with, that you have some type of feeling, but it's just like, oh wow, that's a little scary. That because it's like, what am I giving to you that this is everything at this moment? That's crazy.
Okay, so you just kind of like kind of laughed it off, and
Yeah, and
okay,
kind of ceased to exist after that.
to him or
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Well, listen, I just had to. At least you were nice about it. You were nice about it. I appreciate that.
I try.
Oh my gosh. I've gotten the you're everything I wanted before. My gosh, my gosh. That is, yep, that's example of love bombing. Natalie, what you got for me? Go ahead. What you got for me?
I remember my first relationship, he told me I love you after 2 weeks. He put I love you question mark, and I was like, I like you too, because I don't know about this love stuff. Like, there hasn't been that long. Like, that's really crazy. That's really crazy. So he was just like, we knew each other throughout high school, but not that well. So it was like I really was just getting to know you, even though you were in my orbit this whole time. And I think he definitely like made me pay. You said I love you, or I think he made me pay for that later on because he would always be like, "You weren't as affectionate as I was," and I'm like, "Okay, that's I didn't know you like that."
Well, that's the other thing, right? You weren't as affectionate. You weren't feeling him when he said that.
When I
That's
look back, yes, that was
right.
true.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I was just trying to like talk and like get to know him before I like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
so was he like crushing like for a long time, and then this was his moment to be like, let me just put it out there. Was it that or
I think so because he had like told my friend before me, like,
okay?
because we had like junior prom, and I guess that's
Hmm.
when he realized I didn't know anything. And he told her, but she decided not to tell me for a little while because she was like, because I had liked someone else at the moment, but it was like a person I knew for a person I knew for a short amount of time, but we had class together, so I like talked to them a lot. But then I was like, oh, it's not gonna go anywhere. I got over it. Then she told me, and I was like, I'll just try to get to know him to see if I like him. I'm not gonna say after 2 weeks that I love you,
Hmm.
you know.
No, I respect that. I definitely respect that. Wow. Okay. So PJ and Natalie started us off so far. You just make sure I'm reading the chat as well so I don't forget. But I'm done. Now this they be saying I love you like they're ordering McDonald's. I'm done. Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. You guys are hilarious. All right, who would like to go next? Once again, have you ever been love bombed, or have you been guilty of love bombing someone? Have you been guilty of love bombing someone?
Have you ever love bombed
Have you ever
someone?
loved mom?
Are you talking about me?
Yes.
You know what? That's a good. You know what? I was gonna share mine a little later, but if I'm gonna be honest, I think I did love bomb maybe once or twice. Once or twice.
Ooh!
Once or twice. Once or twice. Like I'm pretty sure I used the one. You're the one for me, right? That was a go-to. That one time. Not all the time, but that one time. The other time was what was it? Oh, we're gonna spend the rest of our lives together. We're gonna spend the rest of our lives together. And I just like 15? We're gonna spend the rest of our lives together? Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. Not saying
I
that
feel
there's
like
not.
that's a maturity though. Like
Oh,
at 15, right?
you know what? The way you kind of spin that, I really appreciate you having that much faith in me at 15. I really appreciate that.
Well, it
But
just sounds like I would say that at 15. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh. Well, yeah, but I definitely threw those in, and I feel like back then it seemed so real, right? Just like, wow, like this is definitely gonna happen. Nothing can stop us now. Nothing can stop us now, type of thing. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I was guilty of love bombing once or twice, not three times. Once or twice. Once or twice. All right. So once again, I'll put that question in the chat for everybody. But the question is simply this, and it's just a two-part. Have you ever been love bombed, right? And the other part of the question is, you know, were you guilty of love bombing someone?
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Hey,
Yes,
Joe.
we
Hey,
can.
bro.
Okay. Hey, Joe. Hey, bro. On excuse me, I am driving through the mean streets of the Bronx, so traffic is high. So if I just start pausing in between, just know it's the traffic that's testing my spirit. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Bro,
But bro,
can you hear me?
can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me still?
Yeah. How come you didn't say the
Yeah.
mean
How come you didn't
streets
say
of
the mean
Queens?
streets? What?
How
First of all,
come?
there's nothing wrong with Queens. No, don't play Queens like that. It's the Bronx. It's the Bronx. But I will alleviate you of the spotlight, Devonte, because I can honestly say for me, I've been on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I've been the one to love bomb, and I've definitely been love bombed. Um, I think I've gotten the like you're everything I'm looking for, like kind of like quote before. But I've also been the one to say that as well. And I could definitely say from like the love, like being the love bomber, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like there's like this, I don't even know how to explain it. Like there's like this intense passion that you're just like you just gotta like let it out because if you don't, like you'll die and like it's just gonna eat you alive, you know. So I'm not gonna lie, like that's definitely been me. I've definitely been that kind of person where it's like I have to share it, I have to say it because if I don't, it's gonna kill me, kind of thing. So but yeah, what it really boils down to is literally just emotional discipline, which I found out early on I did not have. So but yeah, like I could definitely say I speak to like both sides of it.
No, absolutely. And I was gonna give a little background to the difference between love bombing as well as infatuation. But on Ruthie, you go first.
I think I was going to ask you a question, because I'm listening to you and you guys were babies when you said you were love bombing. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if love bombing happens with teenagers or young adults if that's love bombing or just high infatuation, as opposed to older people who shouldn't. But I'm getting the impression that love bombing happens. People love bomb and they don't know that they're love bombing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you know people that have said like, hey, we like they find out that they're love bombing, but not sure about it. Is that a personal experience that you have, or just a question that you have in general?
I just had a question,
Okay.
because I think it's a very thin line
Mm-hmm.
between, because I'm thinking that people can be very ardent, you know, um, and just come across a certain way, but it doesn't, I don't know. I'm just thinking, is love bombing intentional or is it like, the person might be clueless that they're doing it?
Yeah. Well, so one example here says that love bombing is a manipulative tactic. Love bombing is a manipulative tactic. Also, manipulative can be conscious or subconscious, right?
Oh.
So, right. So like when I mean like subconscious, consciously somebody can do it because they really want you to be into them, for example. Subconsciously, somebody might do it as a result of this is what they usually do to get their needs met in a romantically. So they may not be conscious of it, but that doesn't stop it from still being a manipulative tactic, right? So it says here, love bombing is a manipulative tactic that abusers use. This is just one example. Use at the beginning of a relationship to make victims feel as if they are special. Once an abuser is convinced the person who has been the victim of a love bombing is head over heels, the abuser will begin to show their true colors, knowing that the victim is under their control. So that's one example. Daily, go ahead if you can hear me.
I'm sorry, that was an accident. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. All right, Sweetha, go ahead.
I was wondering, I kind of came late, but I was wondering, did somebody bring up limerence?
Say it one more time, that word.
Oh, I was wondering if somebody actually brought up the word limerence.
No, they didn't.
Okay. Okay, I'll sit that there. I'll wait until maybe you have that in the, yeah, I'm gonna put myself on me. I'm gonna wait.
I mean, you don't have to. Feel free. Feel free. Um, but as we continue on, any other comments before we transition to the next part? Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Do you cover limerence in this presentation?
No, that's why I asked you if you,
Oh, to go ahead, yeah.
yeah.
So for those that don't know what limerence is, it's a state of mind that is similar to the feeling of love. Oh, boom. It's in the chat too, in case you want to read it. But what happens is it's like a deep infatuation that is actually recognized. It was through a government website, what they were talking about treatment and things like that. So it's a really interesting state of mind that a person feels like they're in love, they're obsessed with an object or person. And that's why I brought it up, because it also includes love bombing. And it's really interesting because different hormones get released through limerence, such as dopamine versus um, oxytocin, which is usually released during love. So it's a fine line between limerence and love, and it's something to kind of watch out for. Is this person doing this because they love me, or they're just in limerence?
That's good. That's really good. And then Natalie put that definition as well. Okay. Just want to share with you, I was looking up, since you guys gave that question about the infatuation and also the infatuation, also love bombing. I give some examples here of sometimes the difference between them. So if we were to talk about time, for example, so the topic of time, it says here that the beginning is important in the creation of a healthy relationship. Love bombing is often quick and intense. So love bombing is often quick and intense and does not allow for much space and time early on. Infatuated people avoid rushing into a relationship and take the time to get to know each other. How long does love bombing last? For this example of time, there's no definite answer, as it will depend on how much the victim can take. It's important to put yourself first to avoid falling prey to this type of abuse. Um, let's go to another one, motivation as a topic. The motivations for love bombing and infatuation are different. Love bombing, a fairly common tactic among abusers, is all about control and power. On the other hand, infatuation is not necessarily manipulation. So, in terms of motivation, love bombing tends to be about control and power. And then with infatuation, it doesn't necessarily have to be um, manipulation. And then we'll do one more, toxicity. Without a doubt, they are both intense in terms of love bombing and infatuation. This might be why some people are confused about love bombing versus infatuation. When infatuated, some people can start to act crazy to win their beloved's attention. Okay. However, this behavior is usually just the result of uncontrollable passion. Uncontrollable passion. All right. And then it goes on to say love bombing, consciously or subconsciously, aims to gain control of the relationship from the get go. Love bombing, consciously or subconsciously, aims to gain control of the relationship from the get go. All right. For those that just jumped on, we are talking about love bombing and talked about some of the definitions and so on. So I'm just going a little bit into that. We asked ourselves this question: have you ever been love bombed? And the second part of the question was like, were you ever guilty of love bombing someone else? Okay. All right. So 10 warning signs, 10 warning signs that they may be love bombing you. 10 warning signs that they may be love bombing you. The pace feels fast. If the pace feels rushed when you're dating someone new, that is a sign to slow down and pay attention so that you can reflect on where that feeling is coming from. When you're excited about someone new, it's easy to get wrapped up in the thrill of it all and throw caution to the wind, which can cause you to overlook the important warning signs and red flags at a crucial time. So if you might be getting love bombed, does the pace feel fast? Number two, they are engaging in future faking. They are engaging in future faking. And also, just want to just mention this, and this is something that I have later in the slides, that for somebody that's love bombing you, a lot of times it's you like we talk about that abusive nature, right? They will go into like this, how do I say, this like over affection, over like overly being affectionate towards you, these grand gestures and so on at the beginning. And they also, with love bombing, it can go from that to devaluing. So it can shift from showing you these big grand gestures and then they switch up and then they devalue who you are and so on. But they keep you in this cycle because as soon as you feel down or you start to question, wait a second, is this really happening? They go back to doing these grand gestures again, grand gestures, and they make you second guess like, well, they're showing me this. They might do this sometimes, but it's clear that they love me because, they're still, giving me all these flowers or whatever the grand gesture or the overly affectionate thing is. Okay. So number two, 10 warning signs. They're engaging in future faking. When you're still in the initial stages of getting to know someone and they're making future plans with you, at first it can feel refreshing that someone is, being intentional with you. but it can also create a false sense of security, which is why you want to focus on the person in front of you and not their potential. You don't know this person well enough to know whether their actions align with their words yet, or whether they are just presenting a facade in order for you to become attached before they reveal their true character. Future faking involves discussing plans such as traveling, getting married, meeting their family, for example, or moving in together within the first few weeks of dating without any intention of following through. For those that just joined on, we're talking about love bombing, and now I'm just giving the 10 warning signs for love bombing. And one thing that we're just continuing to recap is the fact that love bombing can be very much about power and control, and this shift, these grand gestures and these overly affectionate things being said, that right, they bring out all the works, but then they'll also switch in terms of degrading you, devaluing you, and switch back to being overly affectionate and grand gestures, so you can kind of almost gaslight yourself. Okay. So that's just a review for those that just jumped on. Okay. All right. So once again, moving in together within the first few weeks of dating without any intention of following through, right? So this might be a warning sign. This is a warning sign if you suspect that someone is love bombing you. All right, let's keep on going. There are some examples of statements that indicate future faking. I'm so excited to spend the rest of our lives together. Or we're going to have an amazing family. All right, these are just a few examples. Number 3, third warning sign. Multiple people you trust have expressed concern about the pace of your relationship. I'm not talking about those people that they judge anybody that you're with. Nobody's ever good enough. I'm not talking about those kind of people. But if you're noticing that multiple people, that have different personalities, that are in your life, and they're all saying, I don't know about this guy, or I don't know about this woman right here, maybe a warning sign to someone that's love bombing. Everyone has different relationship experiences and preferences. So what one person says to you may not hold a lot of weight. However, when people you trust and care about and know you well begin to express concern about the pace of a new relationship, it's important to take the time to reflect on their concerns and whether they may see something you don't. This is a big one. Number 4, the 4 that's a warning sign is they mirror you. They mirror you. Mirroring is a manipulation tactic love bombers use that consists of mimicking your core values and interests in an effort to get closer to you and convince you of their compatibility with you. Curiosity about your needs and interests is a great quality in a partner, but it's important to discern the difference between someone who genuinely is curious about you and also sharing about themselves versus someone who is carefully studying your answers. My gosh, studying your answers and mirroring back to you what they think you want. If the person you're dating seems to like all of the same things you do and states that they want the same sort of lifestyle you do, it's important to observe whether their actions are aligned with what they are telling you. I was listening to this podcast, and this woman was saying how she was telling all the ladies not to give everything when it comes to when they're on a date, giving all the information about who they are and what they like to do and everything. Make sure you allow the guy to speak first, to speak about what are his concerns and what are his likes and so on, because there are people that they master. They master in listening to you and making sure that they're aligned with your values, even if they don't agree with it or practice it. Okay. So that's one warning sign. Number 5, we talked about this. They shower you with grand romantic gestures. Grand romantic gestures like whisking you off on a spontaneous vacation or buying you lavish gifts can feel exhilarating. However, if these grand gestures don't match the stage of your relationship and seem like they belong on a dating show instead of real life, beware that the other person may not have the best intentions and may be attempting to speed up the process of creating a bond with you. Okay? Remember I was talking to this girl and she's already talking about going on a trip. Second week. She's trying to plan a trip for me to go on. Meanwhile, I wasn't even dating the girl. Was not even dating the girl. We're just talking. Even though I was dating her, right? She's already talking about going on a trip. And I was just like, a trip? I just memorized your name. I just memorized your name, and you want to go on a trip? All
Where
right,
does she want to go?
uh, Natalie. Out of all the questions you can ask, that's the question you're gonna ask.
That's the question
That's
you're
the question you're gonna ask. It was one of the beautiful islands. Okay. By the way, I did not go. I did not go, and I wasn't supposed to go. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I did not go. I stayed in New York. Okay. So, but with that, I thought it was hilarious. So, once again, they shower you with grand romantic gestures. We got five more, and then we'll go on to the next question. Next one, number 6. Your attempts to slow down are met with resistance. If you express that you're feeling uncomfortable with the pace of the relationship and wish to slow down, pay close attention to how the other person responds. Are they defensive? Do they shut down or turn it around on you? Their response can be telling about whether their intention is to take your needs into consideration or if they are only focused on what they want. Number 7, they give you excessive praise or compliments that don't feel personal to you. When someone is love bombing their object of affection, their goal is to create a deep bond quickly. And they will pull out all the stops to do so. Pay attention to the praise and compliments you're receiving. Do they feel genuine and personal to you? Or is the praise generic and could apply to anyone? An example, a love bomber might say early on, "You are the most incredible person I've ever met." Or, "You're perfect and no one else compares to you." All right, that was number 7. Number 8, really quickly, their expressions of affection feel disproportionate to the stage of your relationship. All right, we did speak about that before. So that's just a review. Number 9, they expect to either be in frequent contact with you or see you a lot, leaving little room for other activities or friendships. Okay? A love bomber wants to lock you down fast and isolate you so they may overwhelm you with frequent contact, which leaves little room for much else in your life. This works in 2 ways. They secure a deep bond with you quickly, and they isolate you so that if others do express concern about your relationship, it'll be harder for you to end it because you're already deeply invested. And last one, they build you up just to break you down. I kind of mentioned this before. They build you up just to break you down. I just mentioned it with different wording. But they will give you these grand gestures, tell you there's nobody like you, all this, but they also they can be really quick and devaluing you, breaking you down. And then they go back to building you back up, and then they go back to breaking you down. Love bombers will initially idolize you while they try to quickly create an illusion of closeness. However, when they know that a partner is fully invested in the relationship, their true colors will start to show. Once the switch is flipped, they begin to criticize and nitpick their significant other, aiming to erode their self-esteem over time so that they can be fully in control. While it's possible that someone may be excited about you and engage in some of these behaviors without intention of love bombing, you want to pay attention to how these behaviors make you feel and observe if it's a pattern of behavior that causes you to question their intentions. All right. And so with that, I want to ask this question, and then we'll look at how some examples of love bombing, possible love bombings, right? It's not a perfect example of the Bible, but some similarities with a story in Judges 16. But my question is simply this. Looking at what we have discussed already in terms of love bombing and the manipulative aspect of it, for power and control and so on, here's a question I thought to myself in terms of our spiritual lives. Is it possible to love bomb Christ? Is it possible to love bomb Christ? Is that even possible? You may disagree, you may agree. We'll see. All right, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, before you that question is answered, I just need to share a short story because I've got to go. On a friend of mine who got love bombed and had no idea why she was being love bombed, because it's usually intentional. This guy came down to Jamaica from England and looking for a wife, man, and somebody went back to his own village, so somebody there knew him and introduced him to this young lady that obviously was very lonely, looking for someone herself. And of course, he love bombed her. I mean, gave her all the sweetest words he could, because he wanted to get married real quickly. And he married him, went back to England, took her to England with her. And after things were settled, man, she had to get out there so fast because he was ready to beat her, and her brother had to come and rescue her. What happened is that he was convicted of rape, and the lawyer advised them that in order to get you off this case, you need to get married, because your case will look a lot better going to the judge as a married man instead of, as a single man. So he traveled all the way to Jamaica to find a wife, somebody who was, I guess desperate. Is that a good word? Whatever she was looking for a man herself. And in no time got married. He got off the case. But after he got what he wanted her gone. And so he did all the abusive things a man can do to make her leave. Yeah. True story. I mean, I know the girl involved. So yeah. Girls got to be careful. Guys got to be careful too.
And Candace asked Paul if this was a Dateline episode, if it was an episode. No, this is not a Lifetime movie. It's not a Dateline episode. It's not 90 Day Fiance. It's a real story.
Real story.
Yeah. Real story. Okay. Now what type of lawyer? You guys are funny. You guys are really funny. I'm just saying, it's not any of those shows. Does it belong on one of those shows? Bet it does. You bet it does. Okay. Yeah, so that question that I put in that chat, is it possible to love bomb Christ? Is it possible to love bomb Christ? I want to ask you that question. You may disagree with it. You may agree with it. You may think deeply on it. But think about that for the next, 50 seconds. Is it possible? All right, PJ, you're up.
Yeah, when you said it, I actually had to think for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, I really be love bombing God. Because I feel like I don't know. I feel like my prayer life is still struggling, but I usually will remember to pray when I need something. Ha ha ha. So I'll be like, God, I love you. Man, I haven't talked to you in a while, but here, I need something to help me out. And I'll give him this praise and whatnot. And it's just it's just in that moment. And then I go back to my life and I'm not paying attention to him no more. I'm not praying. I'm not even thinking about reading my Bible or whatever. And then I do that cycle, and then I come to my church on the first Saturday of a month, and I'm telling people, God is so great. God is so good. Telling him all these good things about him. And then as soon as I leave those church doors, it's done. It's over. I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. Toxic.
Toxic. Toxic. And I appreciate that honesty, right? Because I wanted us to really look at this spiritually. And the difference is, and you more people might speak on this, but PJ, I thank you for your transparency. I guess my question wasn't for us to say, oh yeah, God is giving in to our love bombing, right? Our manipulation. That's not it at all. I think obviously he knows when we're trying to love bomb him, even though we think in our minds that we're being so slick, but at least the attempt, us being honest with the fact that there are times that we might catch ourselves love bombing, trying to love bomb God or love bomb Christ. And for that purpose, right? We were having maybe ulterior motives and so on. So thank you so much for that, PJ, for being honest about that. Anybody else that can think of a story or an experience that they had when they found themselves love bombing Christ?
I think if I could just add, because I agree with like everything PJ was saying, because I question like honestly, can we really like love bomb Christ?
You
And
can
it's like
attempt.
when,
You can
whenever
attempt. You can attempt.
right, right, but I feel like Christ is impervious to our love. So like I was thinking for myself, like yeah, like I feel like I definitely have. Like there's been times where it's like where like you say like, oh God, like if I do this for you, like I promise I'll do this, and you set these preconditions because you want to try to like I guess appease God, but like that's not how he operates. Like he's trying to like target the root of certain things. So we'll try to like like you said, like put on up a certain facade or try to do these gestures just to try to like maintain the relationship, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it really is farce. It's not real, and he's trying to like expose it to become like a real relationship. So I could definitely say yeah. Like I mean I know I definitely have in the past. And that was another question I had too. Like, is love bombing only for like romantic relationships? Can it also be platonic relationships? And I feel like that's true too. So I feel like it can go in any direction.
Absolutely. I like that you brought that aspect. Right? And I was thinking about this too. Sometimes, well, see if you get this example. There are some people, they sometimes feel bad the fact that they're not present enough in somebody else's life. And so they might at times find themselves doing these grand gestures. They pay for the restaurant, they bring you out, all this kind of stuff to make you feel like, oh man, this is a great friend. This is a great person in my life. Right. And then you don't hear from them in the next 9 months. So I thought about maybe that can fall in line with love bombing too. Maybe, you may disagree, but I thought about that example. Right. But oh man, there was something else I wanted to say, and let's see if I can remember. I may not be able to remember it. May not.
Well, I'm trying to remember.
Look who it is. Look who it is, the general herself.
The general, yes.
Yeah.
So and just to play devil's advocate, I'm gonna say no, you can't love bomb Christ, because I feel that love bombing there has a kind of a negative connotation to it. And I don't see anyone approaching a relationship with God looking to do something negatively. You're looking to do something positive in terms of one in a relationship, to develop a relationship with Christ. So I'm going to say, for me, I'm going to say it's a no. You can't love bomb.
Okay.
But I also wanted to add to the discussion. I had a friend who I experienced love bombing on her behalf, because we're very close, and she would tell me, how her relationship was going. And she met a gentleman, and they had only known each other for 2 weeks, and he was going somewhere, and he was buying all this clothes for her, and it just felt, for me, I just felt that it was too much too soon. And I tried to communicate that to her. She didn't receive it well because she liked the person. But I kept saying to her that there's something wrong with the fact that he is rushing the relationship so quickly. Why? and in such a personal way. And very soon after, she found out that he was bipolar. He was trying to get in as quickly as he could before she discovered everything else that was going on. And she thanked me later because I pointed out certain things to her. But yeah, that was my experience.
I have a follow-up question. Was he a fashion designer?
No, he was not.
Okay, I had to double check.
No, he was just pushing the relationship very quickly. And he had a lot of things that he didn't want her to discuss. He wanted her to be emotionally involved before she discovered certain things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, when you think about this love bombing thing, this is just very dangerous. Real dangerous. You can get married to somebody and then just a hoax, man. This is crazy. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Devonte,
Yes.
I'm thinking that people who are being love bombed on some level, you kind of feel like there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, you like deep down, it's like there's like a red flag there.
there's some little niggling there going on in your brain saying,
Yeah.
this is a lot.
Oh my goodness. So I guess a follow-up question for you guys, right? In terms of love bombing is happening all the time. May not be happening to us, every second of the day, right? But someone somewhere is experiencing love bombing. And so the question is, you know, what kind of people are more susceptible to love bombing or being love bombed? So what kind of people are more susceptible to experiencing love bombing? Okay. Natalie, go ahead. You might have a comment from before, but go ahead.
No, it's about this. So
Oh, okay.
I think you're more susceptible when you have poor boundaries and people can like see that. Because like for me, something I've been like told a lot is like, oh, you're like so nice and you're so helpful and whatever, but those traits don't help you out when someone's looking to like take advantage of you.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
I definitely had to toughen up. But the thing is, I don't let a lot of people in, but when I do, it's not that good. So it's like I have like two perspectives. So some people think I'm really tough, but others don't. So,
So question, right? So are
yeah.
you saying that tell me if I'm wrong with this one. Well, first question, have you always been like tough in terms of letting people in, or did you learn to do that as a result of, you know, being taken for granted?
I definitely think it was like a childhood thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Caribbean parents, they're like, don't be friends with people, nobody's your best friend. Like, don't like everyone's jealous of you. So like I definitely was like very closed off.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until like my first relationship I try to be like more open with people. Like, and then it makes me, instead of like confronting the issue, it makes me like hide away and not want to like deal with anyone so that I don't have to go through it again.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was curious about where that came from. And then you said that you don't normally get into those relationships, or people say that you're tough, but when you do engage in those relationships, that's when like the poor boundaries happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. No, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Um, thank you so much, Natalie. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Let's read Judges 16 and looking at everything we've like examined so far in terms of love bombing, right? And the stories that we heard too, I thought those stories were like really like pinpoint love bombing, like the grand gifts and all that kind of stuff. And then there's like a ulterior motive as well behind it. So let's look at Judges 16, and it's not a perfect story, right? Not going to see every single detail, terms of love bombing, but I want us to read the story, just a couple of the verses out loud, and see if you see any similarities. Okay? So just take a note as we're reading it. If you see some similarities with love bombing, then we will take a note of it and kind of share out loud in a couple minutes, okay? So once again, Judges 16. Judges 16, we'll read some of it. Can I have somebody cover verses 1 to 5? Cover verses 1 to 5. And somebody else can do 6 to 10. 6 to 10. So verses 1 to 5, verses 6 to 10, and then I'll finish it out. Who wants to start us off? Judges 16, 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and then I'll close us off. And I'll put that in the chat for you. Yep, mental illness can make you more vulnerable to love bombing. Yeah, absolutely. And while you guys are 16, 1 to 5, that's what I wanted to say to you guys. One of the things that came up in my mind is that people that can be susceptible to love bombing, if you're not a person that is used to experiencing love from others, right? Or sometimes you feel like you don't receive enough love, and a person that comes in your life love bombs you, it's just like, whoa, I've never experienced this before. Like finally someone's giving me attention, or finally someone's actually caring for me. And so many people might not even realize they're being love bombed because this person, quote unquote, is giving them everything that they had hoped and wished for. So I just want to share that as well. All right, so Judges 16, 6 to 10. How do you then manage your own feelings in that case? That's a really good question. How do you then manage your own feelings in that case? I need some context to that question, Kim.
Not you calling me out. No, I'm talking about what you just said with
Is that Kim K?
the one and only, man.
Oh, the one and only. Let's go. So I just had to get a little, the one and only. There's only one Kim K.
There's only one. It's D. Give me the extra E, man.
Come on.
Stop, I'm joking. But no, I was saying in what you were saying, because I feel like I've observed that. And if anything, I was probably a victim to that as well, where just in a sense of having not experienced it and kind of going with what the young lady said prior, there is some traumas essentially that the Caribbean traditional family linkage has to work through in terms of like the lack of love and healthy love, and how that passes through generation and generation. But in that, having not experienced it, whether it's in a family sense, and then eventually, you bleed out on other types of relationship. I'm wondering, how does a person, one, acknowledge, let's take that back. How do they recognize it, acknowledge it, and also manage their feelings in a circumstance like that, where someone finally comes and is showing or treating them in such a manner that they're seeing it as, oh my gosh, this is love? Because that's a whole different thing. Seeing it as love and it actually being love is a different conversation. But how do they then manage that? Because at that point, I'm going to assume the person is like, oh, this is the end all be all. This is it. Finally, God has shined upon me. So I'm just wondering, how does a person manage that? Or does it just default to them having to be hurt, sadly?
Yeah.
To get to that reality.
Yeah, that is so good, because I was just going to ask that. I was going to ask you that as well, because I just feel like experiencing it and then actually putting a label to it is one aspect of like recognizing that, oh shoot, I definitely got love bombed this time, and next time I know what to look out for. But what about someone, like you said, what do they do when they don't want to experience that at all, like the love bombing? How do they kind of gauge that? And I think one of the things that I was looking at psychology today, but also this other reading as well, but they were talking about the presence of community, the presence of community. And with love bombing, a love bomber really wants to get you alone by yourself where only they are communicating with you. And so that's why I think it's so important, because it's hard to explain to somebody that has not experienced love, and then a love bomber comes to them, and now they're getting all this love. It's sometimes hard to kind of communicate to them, like, hey, this is not necessarily healthy. They're like, what do you mean this is not healthy? Like, I've never experienced this in my life, you know? But I think if that person has a trusted community, someone that's emotionally in tune, someone that understands, has an understanding of like a healthy love, but also knows the difference between love bombing or somebody doing too much in a short amount of time, that can probably be the best um, community you have around you to kind of combat anybody love bombing you. But I guess my question for you, Kim, is this a personal question or just things that you have observed about people in your life?
It was mainly stemming from what I've observed. But then when I think about it myself, I did fall to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what triggered the conversation, no.
Okay. So outside of maybe the things I just shared, what do you find beneficial moving forward that has like worked for you, or worked for the people in your life, right? Either or, that can be successful in combating love bombing.
Oof. That is a question. Can I just give the Ellen G. White answer and just say, stay in your Bible and seek ye the kingdom of God, and all other things will be added.
I need a practical answer from you.
Well, no, can I
I'm
help
a tough
him?
cookie now.
Yeah,
so
go ahead. Go ahead.
Again.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I'm a tough cookie now, so I doubt that will happen again.
Go ahead.
Kim, can I help you out?
Yes, tag, you're it.
Rescue. So I'm thinking, in terms, as I listen to the discussion and the question, I'm thinking that by the fruits you should know them, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking one of the things that a lot of us, when we think we're getting what we want, we tend to rush a little bit. And I think having the boundary of time, of allowing time to get to know someone and to really know their character, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. So perhaps if we set up a boundary where even if you're, crazy about this person, you're going to say, I need at least, I don't know what time frame it is, 9 months. I've known people who have met people and gotten married by the 5th month, the wedding. Okay.
Really?
In the church. Yes.
Wow.
And it turned out to be not so good because there were ulterior motives on both sides. So there was a lot of...
I was just about to say, Lord, I see what you've done for others. I'm just joking.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Time is a good boundary to set up in situations like that could help with love bombing.
Wow. I gotta tell you, this is really good to know. I didn't know that there were like some 90-day fiance Adventists that you knew. That is hilarious. Not 5 months. Wow. 5 months. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I do love that though. And a lot of times I realize that there are, like you said, some people want it so badly that they're willing just to jump through all the hoops, make all the decisions so quickly, and then they end up kind of wasting more time anyway, so that can be extremely hard, but I really appreciate, you giving that to Kim K. I really appreciate that those gems. All right. Go ahead on, Ruthie, and then we'll read Judges 16 a little bit.
I think people can really get hurt badly by this thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think the only answer is going to the Lord in prayer, you know, because he's I've been listening to this book. It came out maybe this week or recently. I just bought it today and I was really amazed by it. It's called The Gift of Rejection or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was saying that rejection is clothed or is a gift that is gift wrapped in pain, you know?
Mm.
The gift itself is a loving Heavenly Father who has decided that he will never ever leave us. So when dealing with the pain of unrequited love, if I could call it that, I think if well, you can go to a therapist, if it's really that bad. But I think prayer really, really does help,
Mm.
and believing that he's never going to leave you. And